Today I'm driving to where Mr. Beast lives in his town, and I'm gonna live there for a week. Let's hope my car doesn't break down. It's really old. When I arrived in Greenville, I was a little surprised to find that it was just your normal city. Some poor parts, but some very familiar parts with chain stores that you'd recognize. It's not ruled by Mr. Beast. This is the Airbnb I'm staying in. It looks a bit different from the listing. Nonetheless, it still has that big estate historic feel. And I like to focus on the good. And the good is that, well, it's not the fact that the bathroom doesn't have a lock, but the fact that there's a lot of history here. The couple that rents out the place has a very interesting life that they've lived. They've traveled to about like 100 countries. They've lived all over the world. They've lived all over the country, and they're near retirement. And one has a metal leg. It was just very fascinating hearing their stories. So there's 100,000 people who live here. I'd love to run into Mr. Beast or his team, but it's probably not going to happen. Instead, I just want to absorb the aura, the culture of this place, just to see if I can, maybe boost my YouTube game. So I'm at one of the biggest parks in Greenville. Who knows? Mr. Beast could have filmed a video here. He might have. He probably did at some point. So here are my first impressions of the city/town. First off, there's still a lot of poverty in the area, and it just goes to show you that you can sometimes assume, oh, Mr. Beast is so rich, he's just gonna transform this whole city. But when there's 100,000 people living here, there's still a lot of poverty. I actually got approached by a homeless person, and they were asking all these other things like, oh, can you give me gas? It's definitely a humble beginnings type of vibe. Like, there's definitely no oh, here's all this money, here's all these opportunities. It's definitely like, if you want to succeed on YouTube, you just got to do it. You just have to be, creative and smart and work hard and unique and all this other stuff. That's not to say that this place is not beautiful and amazing as well. I mean, look at how peaceful it is, quiet it is. All that water, all those trees. Look at. I'm not familiar with the area, so this is the first time I see stuff like that on the trees. Must be some type of fungus or something. So this is cool. You can rent out a water testing kit and then test out different water, scan the QR code, and then upload your test results. So I kind of take back a little bit of what I say, because some of the stuff here is kind of fancy, and it's like, okay, it's actually kind of high end in a way. Like, they do have enough government money to do stuff that I wasn't familiar with when I was growing up. One of my first impressions of the residential area, the shopping centers, the roads, every house right next to each other is often wildly different in terms of size and how well maintained it is. And so I'm not familiar with that, because I'm used to general neighborhoods being relatively similar architecture. But I guess here it's just the wildly varies. That is trippy right there. I don't think I've ever seen a swamp, and I don't think this is truly a swamp, but I mean, that's like a North Carolina version of a swamp. I mean, I've never seen the water around the trees like that. It's usually just dirt and trees. I mean, that's something else. I mean, it's spooky. Wow, that stretches out for quite a while. My gosh. Anyhow, in terms of the whole Mr. Beast thing and my first impression of the city, I do have to say, my first impressions of the city, I would say, is that it is a functioning, normal city. I saw a bunch of young high schoolers jogging. They're in a running club, probably. And, I see a lot of normal, functional activities. I feel like I'm in, some weird Dr. Seuss I mean, look at these trees. I mean, they're like sticking up. They're like tiny little, I don't know, thorns coming out of the ground, and then there's like a tree there, but then it gets all skinny up there, and then there's water surrounding it and more spikes. It's like something out of Lord of the Rings. I've never seen something like this before. It's stunning and crazy what Mother Nature can create just based off the slightly different environments that we're around. I mean, I've been to the Philippines, I've been to Southeast Asia, and yeah, some of the stuff here in North Carolina is eyebrow raising to me, in a good way, of course. This really is a place where if you wanted to, you could really be alone. I mean, I am saying hi and like walking past people every now and then on that main road, but I just took a fork that's about a quarter mile, half mile long into this little trail, and there's not a soul. Yeah, you gotta be careful too, gotta be safe here. Yeah, I get the sense that this is a nice, quiet place to live. Maybe not that much to do, but if you are bored, I mean, then you can make YouTube videos. So far, you know, I've been surprised to find that this is like a pretty populated place with a lot of the rest places you're familiar with. Olive Garden, Target, CVS, Walgreens, Popeyes, they're all here. But it's still definitely a rural area. I mean, this shopping center I'm in now, there's like almost nothing going on except for RJ's Famous Barbecue. I was in there for like 20 minutes plus waiting in line for some good soul food. So let's try this out. I love how they always give you a little something extra. These things when you order. I think it's some type of fried bread. Crunchy. It's not bad. It's like a little fried donut. I mean, this place is popping. It has 1,600 reviews, average of 4.5 stars. Green beans are solid. They're healthy. It's literally like they just boiled green beans. Like there's very little seasoning. Let's try the mac and cheese. That is some flavorful mac and cheese. The ribs are gonna be hard to film because I'm holding my phone in one hand. I'm just gonna take like one. I'm gonna grab a little bite here. This costs $13, by the way. I mean, that's a good deal for ribs. Okay, so they're not fall off the bone tender. Like you could rip them off the bone, but they're just a little chewy, and then they give away. There's a decent amount of taste in there. The middle of the meat does have some like semi-stiff substance, but not too bad. This is a solid meal. Hands down solid. For $13, I mean, it's hard to beat. Thus ends day one. Stay tuned for more. I went home to find some snacks.